بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق أجمعين محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. The subject about slaughtering of the animals according to Islamic way sometimes is called ritual slaughtering. Comparing it with the slaughtering through the stunning system, which has different ways of stunning. Some they give anesthesia to the animal and some do not give, but then give a bolt like a shock to the animal, and some other ways are used. There is a lot of queries about the Islamic way of slaughtering, and they say it is painful to the animal, and we have to make it from animal rights to be less painful, and we have to observe that point. And some of them, they said, well, it may not be also healthy, so if we care for health of the community, then this may not be a healthy way to slaughter the animal. Actually, if we study properly the Islamic way of slaughtering the animal, well, the conditions, first we say that the butcher has to be a Muslim. Secondly, has to face Qibla. Third, has to mention or remember name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May say Allahu Akbar or Alhamdulillah or Subhanallah, or remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he start the slaughtering. To slaughter, he has to cut. It is recommended and advised that the knife has to be very sharp so that the animal will not feel pain about it. Also, it is said that one should not show the animal the knife by which we slaughter the animal. And a third advice is that do not kill one animal in front of another one. So you kill each animal separately. Other animals should not see that process. And then to cut in the neck, said you have to cut the four, let us say, they call it veins or arteries, but it is a general term in Arabic, al-awdaj al-arba'a. What is meant is the two jugular veins and the trachea and the esophagus. Naturally, by that, the two carotid arteries also are cut. When you cut the trachea and the esophagus, you will cut the two carotid arteries. For those who do not remember science, the jugular veins are big veins where they bring a huge amount of blood from the brain to the heart. And the carotid arteries are two also big size arteries which carries the blood from the heart to the brain. Usually the brain consumes a huge amount of blood, more than its size comparing with the body. In a human being, for example, size of the head is 1/8 of size of the body, but amount of blood which comes to the brain is maybe 1/3 of the blood comes to the brain comparing with the body. So much more blood is needed. Why that is needed? Because the brain is very sensitive and needs a lot of oxygen. Any shortage of oxygen will make the person in a state of blurred vision or semi-conscious and ultimately become unconscious. So that is why the brain is very sensitive and has to get enough amount of blood with enough amount of oxygen. At time of death, they said, when the heart stops beating, or for any reason, if there is no blood to the brain will die usually in 3 minutes time. So if heart stops for any patient for 3 minutes or more, then you cannot get him to survive. Well, in rare cases, maybe heart was not stopping completely, maximum, let us say, to 5 minutes, but it is within that range. While, for example, the leg, if you stop blood for the leg, as in some of the surgeries we do that, we need a bloodless leg so that one can see the anatomy of the leg very well. For more than 1 hour, maybe there is no blood for the leg and the leg will not die, will not be affected. The heart might continue beating for long time, but still, if the oxygen was stopped for the brain, then the brain will die, as I said, in usually 3 minutes in human being. So this is the important thing. Now, if there is any shortage of oxygen to the brain or low blood pressure to the brain, what will happen? The person will get unconscious. Blood pressure will be low sometimes with the easiest pain. And as you know, the hitting somebody in the epigastric region, above the abdomen, epigastric region, if you hit one, will get severe pain, and that pain will reduce heart rate, and because of reduction of heart rate, reduction of oxygen and blood to the brain, the person will get unconscious. So you see how brain is sensitive, that will get easily unconscious because of lack of blood and maybe lower blood pressure. If somebody is unconscious while standing, well, it is advised that let him sleep on the ground, then more blood will go to the brain because there is no effect of gravity. The heart to push the blood needs pressure, but if somebody lying in the ground, the heart, level of the heart and level of the brain is equal, so enough blood will go. It is said, well, even 40% blood more will come to the heart, and naturally the heart can push more blood to the brain, and the person get normal after he was unconscious. Why? Because more blood. So this is the physiology, is important to know about it, because when you come to slaughtering, this will come. Sometimes the smallest reduction in oxygen will get the person unconscious, and that unconsciousness, sometimes if it is due to electric effect, like in persons with seizure, they get unconscious and then convulsion will start. You see the people who have epilepsy, suddenly he may fall on the ground and get convulsion of the hands and of the legs for some time, and then after that he will get quiet and get awake again from his unconscious state. Those convulsions are naturally unconscious convulsion. The patient himself do not remember them, because he get unconscious because of electrical problem with the brain in case of epilepsy, or because lack of oxygen to the brain. Again, the person will get unconscious, and then that jerks will start, and the person is in that situation. When we say it is unconscious, means it is painless. If there is pain, the person, or let us say the animal, do not feel any pain, because the animal or human being, in case of epilepsy, is unconscious. And when there is unconscious, there is no pain. So that is, in short, about physiology of the brain. Now, when it comes to Islamic way of slaughtering, let us start step by step. Some ask, what is the reason that to be in front of Qibla and to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The answer, first of all, we do not know, as we said before, always what is philosophy of Islamic rules and regulations. We may know some of the things and we may not know many other things. Well, direction toward Qibla is not a haphazard thing. The Kaaba has its own importance in the universe itself. It's not an ordinary situation. A lot of new studies about situation of Kaaba and position of Kaaba, which shows that is a unique place in the world. Maybe that is a center of the world, and we know that the sun twice in the year is coming exactly perpendicular above the Kaaba. So it shows that a place which has been chosen by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not an ordinary place chosen for no reason. Naturally, there are a lot of reasons for it. We know the Dahw al-Ard, when the earth was formed or created, it was created from the Kaaba itself. So that was, as I said, like a center of the earth. From that, the earth got its form. Naturally, that is probably billions of years before. We don't know how many billions of years before that happened, but that was the center where what you call Dahw al-Ard, the earth, get its shape from that. So naturally, to be toward Kaaba, it has its importance. We may know the details or may not know, but what I mean, it is not haphazard things. Naturally, when we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to do that, there must be certain reasons. We may by time discover that, depending on, electricity of the earth and its effect or other things. Almighty Allah knows best. So that is from the animal point of view, it must have some reason. God knows best. But for the human being himself, this is important that the butcher himself or the person who slaughtered the animal, he should not get hard heart by getting used to slaughter animals. He has to remember Allah, to mention name of Allah, to be in front of Kaaba. So all that will make him near to Allah, so that his heart will not be hard. Because if he get used to slaughter the animal, for him will be easy to maybe kill a person, a human being, because he is used to that process, Allah has to protect him from that. And we mentioned that there is always in Islam equilibrium between the body and the soul. Whatever acts which make the material side of the human being stronger, then there are special advices to reduce that. And whatever acts make the human being spiritually more than usual in extreme, special acts, they say, do have some material or physical activities, So the balance and equilibrium between the body and the soul should be achieved always. Now in this process, because a human being has to eat the meat, and then these animals, the sheep or the chicken or cow or camel, whatever type of animal, then to slaughter, naturally that a process which make psychologically the person with a harder heart. Now Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to make his heart softer, and this act that he has to do it for the food of the human being should not affect him. So I tell him, okay, you have to remember Almighty God, you have to mention God, you have to think about the animal. First, give the animal water. If the animal is thirsty, do not slaughter a thirsty animal. Be kind to the animal. Let your knife be very sharp so that you will not create pain to the animal. Put him in front of Qibla. Remember Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You see, all that will prepare him, and probably it has effect on the animal. Probably, I say, because there are some studies, they said the animal, when you put him in front of Kaaba and remember name of Allah, the animal will get more quiet. I don't know how far that study is scientific, but what I mean, there must be an effect. If more research is done, we will find definitely an effect for that. That the animal will surrender, will relax. And that is what shows in some of the films about the slaughtering the animal. When you remember Allah and put the animal in front of the Qibla, toward Kaaba, toward Mecca, the animal will surrender and will feel peaceful way. Naturally, name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has its effect even on the animals. So the animal will not feel an enemy is dealing with him to be worried or irritable. You think like a peaceful man. I mean, some enemy might come and cut your abdomen naturally. You are irritable and you want to fight. But a doctor may do the same and you surrender to him because you know he's doing it for a surgery and that is good to be done, you know, whatever surgery, whatever surgical treatment is there. So when you are accepting what is going to happen, naturally you will surrender to the doctor in order to do his job, you know, rather than enemy, and naturally you will not surrender and you will fight. You are tense and your body is irritable, and naturally all hormones of the body are preparing you to fight and defend yourself. That state is not there when you come to a surgeon or a doctor to have some treatment, you know. Well, even if there is little pain, let us say, then you tolerate that because you know he is doing it for your favor. So what I mean, the same effect, the same psychology might affect, I say might because I'm not sure about the study 100%, but that is possibility. And as some studies are mentioned about it, probably it is authentic, I am not sure. It mentioned about that point. However, it is the order that we remember Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we face toward Kaaba, and then the cut to be the slitting to be fast, and not to cut the spinal cord, not to behead the animal, keep the head remaining. Now this quick slit of the animal, you know, because the knife is sharp, the animal usually do not feel pain. First of all, the tolerance of the animal for the pain is much more than tolerance of the human being for pain. So what, let us say, little pain for the human being may not be painful for the animal. Animal tolerate that much more. Well, maybe similar to it, the child is very tolerant for, is not tolerant for pain. Smallest painful thing, if it is little hot, he feels severe pain. While the elderly man, because his skin is thick, will tolerate heat and will not feel that pain as the child feels the pain. So the animal has more ability to tolerate pain. So this quick slit of the neck of the animal will not make pain to start with. Now, basically, cutting is not painful. What is painful when there is a swelling, and that will stimulate stretch receptors. The nerve ending will be stimulated when there is a swelling, stretching. So the receptors there, nerve ending called stretch receptors. So at the first, when there is cut, there is no swelling. It will take, let us say, half a minute, 1 minute, and then gradually swelling will be there. At that time, the human being will feel pain. Sometimes, you know, you are unaware and your hand is cut and you have not felt pain. After 1 minute or 2 minutes, then you feel sore there on some pain. You look, we see blood is coming and your hand is cut. Why you did not feel it? Because, as I said, if it is a quick injury, that will not create pain. Unless it comes on the nerve and you cut the nerve, then it is painful. But otherwise, it may not be on the nerve directly, on a main nerve. So that will not create pain. But by time when the blood will come and there is a swelling, naturally, stretch receptors at the nerve endings will feel pain, and that feeling will go to the brain, and then you feel sore or pain, or it will hurt you. So according to that, when we say that the quick slitting the animal will not create pain for the animal, first because the animal can tolerate pain more than a human being, as we said. Secondly, because it is with a sharp knife and quick, At the beginning, there is no pain. But what will happen? Usually in 3 seconds, maximum 5-6 seconds, the animal will get unconscious. Why will get unconscious? First, because carotid arteries are also cut, so there is no blood going to the brain. Secondly, the blood pressure will come down. Thirdly, oxygen will be deprived because you will cut the trachea. Fourthly, some of the nerves and nerve endings in the neck, when you cut the trachea and the esophagus, will also be cut, and then the animal will not feel any pain. And in 3 seconds, the animal will get unconscious. Sometimes 5-6 seconds, the animal is unconscious. When the animal is unconscious, naturally there is no pain at all. But after that, these jerks will start. When we see a chicken, slaughtered, we think that jerks and the animal is moving from place to place. We think the animal is doing that because of pain. So that is why we feel sympathy to the animal that, oh, this is very painful. Actually, it is not painful because the animal is already unconscious. The animal is unconscious because lack of blood, lack of oxygen, and then the animal get like, as I said, like a seizure situation, like epilepsy, which happens to the human being, It is that case. Well, the heart will continue beating. Though blood will not reach the brain, but the heart will continue beating, because as long as the blood will come to the heart, let us say from the legs, from the abdomen, from other parts, from the head will not come because jugular veins are cut, so no more blood will come. The heart will continue beating, and sometimes the heart will continue beating for 1 minute or 2 minutes will beating. This type of jerks or convulsions, what will do actually like a massage, will press the arteries and the veins and let more blood to come out. So the blood of the body will be drained out almost completely. Whatever blood comes to the heart will push it, will go to arteries and then come back by the veins and then leave the body, and no more blood will remain in the body. So the body will have less blood, and that, let us say, is more healthy point for the consumption of the meat of the animals, because the blood makes about 11% of the weight of the body. In slaughtering, almost all the blood will go out. Maybe, I don't know, 5% or 1% will remain, Depends how much jerks are there, That is why I said you should not behead the animal and leave the spinal cord there, because those jerks come through the spinal cord. So when that jerk is there and heart is beating continuously, and then whatever blood in the muscles and in the abdomen is there will come to the blood and will to the heart and will go out, naturally the body will be drained of the blood. We know the blood is not healthy for consumption of a human being for many reasons, First of all, the blood is carrying a lot of hormones of the body, and not all those hormones are digested by the stomach when it is used. So effect of the hormones will be there. Now the animals who are fed with hormones in order to grow very fast, or for cow to give more milk, or for the chicken, let us say, to grow bigger in a short period, all through hormones. Those hormones are in the flesh of the animal, and it is harmful for consumption. That is why these effects are shown nowadays in the Western countries more than, let us say, in Islamic countries where they get animal properly slaughtered. It's a case of hirsutism, and that is when more hair is in the face of the ladies, and also it affects the boys, and then it will create some problems with the cycle with the women, and some cases might get problems with pregnancy, and so on. You see, all those are hormonal problems which are there, but if it is not mentioned in the media, it is because of economic reasons. They need the cow to give more milk. Whether that milk is healthy or not is immaterial. They need the chicken in 2 months to be big so that they can sell it rather than can feed the chicken for 6 months and then more food to be there and its price will be costly. You know, so it is only for economic reasons. They ignore those points. Otherwise, that meat with all these hormones is not healthy. While in Islamic way, when the blood is drained of the animal, naturally, all those hormones will go out. I mean, whatever is there in the blood will go out. So one problem is the hormones. Second problem are the poisons of the body. The blood will carry all the wastage of the body and get rid of it through the kidney or through the liver or through the lung. You know, the lung, you know, some gases which comes, you know, if there is more carbon dioxide, etc., then through respiration we'll get rid of it, and sometimes through the kidney and through the liver, because the liver will deal with the wastage and, let us say, poisons of the body. So all the poisons of the body are there in the blood, and when it is consumed, naturally you are consuming unhealthy food, though the blood is not to be called as food, but however, in some cases they use the blood for taste or for whatever. It's said, of course, in Islamically we are not allowed to eat that blood, but however it is mentioned like that. So it is not healthy, and in Islamic way slaughtering, most of the blood will be drained and the meat of the animal is more healthy. So that is very important and very good and healthy. Well, a test was done that you put meat, halal meat and non-halal meat, you put it outside, and you see the halal meat will take longer time to get fermentation, while non-halal meat quickly will get fermentation, because the blood is very good media for bacteria. It is blood culture is the good media for bacteria to flourish, and bacteria will flourish very quickly, while there is less blood there, so the meat is more healthy in halal meat, and you see to get fermented will take longer time. Simple test showed that the halal meat is more healthy than the non-halal meat. You see, all that, as I said, because more blood is coming out, more hormones will come out, more poisons will come out, and then the blood, which is good media for bacteria, is not there in the flesh, and bacteria will take longer time to live on the, let us say, flesh if it is kept outside, or even in the refrigerator. It might take 2-3 days before it get fermentation, but if there is blood, maybe in 24 hours we'll get fermentation, sometimes less than that, even with the refrigerator. So all those points shows that it is less painful for the animal, there is a better human feeling for the animal, and less psychological trauma to the person, to the butcher himself who killed in the Islamic way. And fourth, it is more healthy for consumption of the human being. When we come to the stunning, well, in some writings or some arguments, they say why the animal is put on the ground to slaughter. We have to hang the animal. Well, first of all, as I said, when you let the animal sleep on the ground, the animal will feel more peaceful. When you hang the animal by hydraulic measurement, whether the chicken will easy or sometimes the goat and the cow and other, then the animal is not satisfied and not happy and feel very severe situation, very bad situation. Animal is hanged, And then stunning will be very painful for the animal because, well, naturally you are hitting the animal and the animal will not get unconscious quickly. And sometimes after stunning, it will take 1 minute or 40 seconds to slaughter the animal. So the animal in all that time is getting pain of the hit of the stunning, Animal is suffering of that. And then because of that situation, when the animal is slaughtered, more amount of blood will remain. About 50% of the blood will remain in the body. Well, if they think from economic point of view, naturally they are adding 5%, 5.5% weight to the meat of the animal and sell it in the market. So they think as a profit because the blood is there. While if blood comes out, naturally its weight will be reduced. But as I said, that is not healthy food given to people because blood is not a food. Meat is the food, not the blood. So the case of stunning is not really healthy. And practically when you come to the machines, and then the machine will cut, because neck of the animals is not equal in the chicken or other animals. So sometimes the knife will not come to the throat, will come to the mouth of the animal or half the head of the animal. So you cut the head of the animal, you cut the mouth, or you cut head from below half rather than you slaughter from the neck. Because size is not the same, bigger and smaller, and then the machine will cut. So when you come practically to that way, you see, really that way is very harsh to the animal, very painful, unhuman, if you want to use the word, to deal in this way with the animals, So there is a great difference between the Islamic way, which is thinking about the animal, to be kind to the animal, give him water in order the animal not to feel thirsty. And well, remember Allah put him in front of Qibla, let him sleep so he can naturally feel comfortable because animal is sleeping rather than you hang the animal. Animal is sleeping on the ground and with a quick slit in which the animal will not feel the pain. In few seconds, the animal is unconscious and then most of the blood will come out and the meat is healthy without much pain. So this is in short, and there is interesting study has been done. I read some part of it that is very authentic study was done in Germany and published in the German Veterinary Weekly, volume 85 in 1978, pages 62 up to 66. It was done by Dr. W. Scholz and Dr. H. Scholz Petzold and Dr. A.S. Hazem and R. Gross, 4 scholars, they have done this research. They do it scientifically. They put EEG. EEG means electroencephalography. They put electrodes in the head and these register whatever activities are in the brain. The doctor uses that, let us say, for people who have cancer in the brain, or for people who have problems in the brain, or those who have epilepsy especially, to see what are changes, and they check the changes at time of sleeping, at time of awakeness, and so on. So they put these electrodes here in the head, and this checks electricity of the brain, EEG, called electroencephalography or electroencephalogram, and they put also ECG, electrocardiogram, to check the activities of the heart. And they did the experiment in that way, well, as they said, they have carried out 17 sheep and 15 calves of various breeds, and then at time of a slaughter, it was done on 23 sheep and 15 calves and so on. I read the result in short. They said for a slaughter by ritual cut. Ritual cut means Islamic way. Let us say the Jewish way, more or less, is the same because they cut the same way. So they call it ritual cut. First, after the blood-letting cut, the EEG, as I said, EEG for the brain, initially is the same as the EEG before the cut. So when you put it in a normal situation, there is no activity there. And when there is cut, slitting, quick cut, there is no change. Means there is no pain, no suffering of the animal. There is a high probability that the loss of reaction took place within 4 to 6 seconds for sheep and within 10 seconds for calves. Number 2, the zero line in the EEG was recorded no later than after 13 seconds for 17 sheep and no later than 23 seconds for 7 calves. What they mean, the zero line is the line when the animal is unconscious or dead, you know. Unconscious, then there is no pain naturally, so it will show zero line. There is no activities in the brain because no pain, no activities. So the electrode is in a zero line. So in chicken, maybe in 3 seconds, but he said here, no later than 13 seconds for sheep and no later than 23 seconds for calves. For 3, thermal pain stimuli did not cause an increase in activity. So the pain stimulus did not show any activity, and this means the animal had no pain. As I said, first, because the animal's tolerance for pain is higher than a human being. Secondly, because of that quick slitting, the animal had no pain. And it needs maybe 1 to 2 minutes for stretch receptors to start feeling pain. By that time, in 13 or 7 to 13 seconds, the animal is unconscious already, so there is no pain. 4, after the cut, the heart frequency rose for calves within 40 seconds to 240 heart actions per minute, and for sheep within 40 seconds to 280 heart actions per minute. Naturally, heart beating is more because less blood, so heart is faster to get more blood, and with that process, the blood is being discharged of the body. But naturally, heart beating has no pain for the animal. Now, this is about, as I say, ritual, or let us say Islamic and Jewish way of slaughtering. He said for slaughter after captive bolt application. 1, after captive bolt stunning, all animals displayed most severe general disturbances, call it waves of 1 to 2 hertz in the EEG, which almost with certainty eliminates a sense of pain, you know, such a severe general disturbances are there in which the animal sometimes will get unconscious because of pain, you know. The zero line in the EEG was reached for calves after 28 seconds, you know, and there he said for calves after 23 seconds. For 2 sheep, the cerebral cortex activity of the upper part of the brain, cerebral cortex, only stopped in 1/2 of the brain, whilst it continued in the other, in the region up to 3.5 hertz until the bloodletting cut. So this is from stunning, you know, still if half the brain is not active, another half is still active, till they cut the head of the animal, which sometime after 1 minute or 40 seconds or 2 minutes, depends on the machine. For the bloodletting cut resulted for all animals in a brain activity, E and D waves. So again, now the animal, when there is cutting, will feel pain, not without pain, because animal is very sensitive and feel that pain. 5. Thermal pain stimuli caused an increase in activity in one sheep. 6. The heart frequency rose directly after stunning to value above 300 actions per minute. So this is a comparative study, and said in summary, slaughter after captive bolt stunning for calves, said after captive bolt stunning, most severe general disturbances, and that is waves of 1 to 2 Hz, occurred in the EEG, which almost with certainty eliminates a sense of pain. B. About the sheep, similar disturbances were also seen in sheep, but besides the somewhat higher frequency, there are still clearly superimposed waves. For one animal, waves could be recorded after pain stimuli until after the 200th second, more than 3 minutes. Apparent cramps were registered for all sheep with an exception of one animal. Cramp is the pain of the muscles, severe pain on the muscle because lack of blood, and animal is still is feeling the pain, so he feel there is shortage of pain in the muscle, of blood in the muscle, so give severe pain, cramping. So that is about stunning. He come to the second point, slaughter in the form of ritual cut for calves. After the bloodletting cut, loss of reaction, loss of consciousness occurred with high probability within 10 seconds. This is for calves, A clear reaction to the cut could not be detected in any animal. You see, clear reaction could not be detected in any animal. There is no reaction. Almost 100% of the animals had no pain. For 7 animals, a 0 EEG was recorded no later than after 23 seconds. So 0 EEG means at a state of unconsciousness, complete. Because before unconsciousness, sometimes they said it is a state of sleeping. The animal is not unconscious, but like a sleeping state, and then goes to unconsciousness. So at the beginning said within 10 seconds, and then within 23 seconds is completely unconscious. Cramps occurred in the animals regularly only after the brain current had stopped. So the cramp and the, let us say, the pain in the animal or contraction of the muscles happen after the brain current has stopped, means the animal is unconscious, do not feel any pain. That was for the calves. When we come to the sheep, they say after the bloodletting cut, loss of reaction, that means loss of consciousness, occurred after 10 seconds the latest. A clear reaction to the cut could not be detected in any animal. Well, again, for the sheep and the calf, a clear reaction could not be detected in any animal. The 0 line was recorded no later than 14 seconds after the cut. Cramps only occurred after the 0 line had been detected and were much shorter than after captive bolt stunning. So even the time is much shorter. The slaughter in the form of ritual cut is, if carried out properly, painless in sheep and calves according to the EEG, electroencephalogram, recordings, and the missing defensive actions. During the experiments with captive bolt stunning, no indications could be found for prescribing this method for calves. So, well, more details are mentioned. So we see from that scientific research, and I have already explained why this research comes in that, scientifically is known, and these are facts, that it is almost no pain for the animal, and the animal will get quickly unconscious, and the convulsion we see for the animal is without pain, because the animal is unconscious because of lack of oxygen and lack of blood to the brain. That unconscious convulsion happens, and then maximum of blood is coming out, and then the flesh of the animal is more healthy. So this is about the Islamic slaughtering, and what is said that this is not really a good way is not scientific and not true. Actually, I encourage the governments to adopt Islamic way of slaughtering in all animals for the sake of the consumers, for the sake of the people, whether Muslims or non-Muslim. Well, naturally the people have to eat healthy meat, and this way the meat is more healthy. Secondly, then the animal should have less suffering, and with bolt stunning the animal has more suffering. So if they care for animal rights, they should adopt Islamic way. I mean, let us say without a prejudice, if we want to talk scientifically which way is better for the animal, naturally the Islamic way is better for the animal. So why not to adopt that for the benefit of the animal rights and for the benefit of health and healthy food for the human beings? Well, this is beside the other points that Islam cares even for the food of the animals. We said the food of the animal should be clean. We say tahir. Clean means usually from grains or grass, and we're not allowed to give, let us say, the intestine and blood and a lot of parts of the intestines of other animals you cut and give it food for others, and that might create certain diseases, and probably cow madness was formed because of that system. So in Islam we say even the food to be given to the animal has to be healthy food, and the animal has to have a more healthier and better flesh so that it will not harm the human being. That is in short about it, and I hope it is clear. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi al-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjil faraj.